so we don't get the echoes. There we go. We should be up. I'm going to share this out as well. We are. There's going to be a delay with people coming in because that's just how YouTube is in OBS. We are live. Steve Carter's kids.
Oh, I got you. I can see the live stream.
In depth. What up, Plowman? Zach, BloodX, Pow. How you guys doing, man? Hope you're all doing well. We're going to let a couple more people filter in here because there is a delay. And then we're going to let Steve do a couple test audio talks. And then we'll dive into it. So, Tom, Crazy, what's up, guys? Airtime, hope you guys are doing well. Steve's already aborting. He said, abort. I am no longer doing this. I'm just kidding. I'm just having fun. It's Monday, guys. We gotta have fun here, right? All right, Steve. I just told him that you were already aborting me, jokingly. What up, DJ Frank B? This should be a very fun, very interesting, in-depth tonight, guys. Steve, you want to just say a couple words just to test the audio?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Can you guys hear him? Is it low? Is it good? What's his audio sound like? Say a couple more things.
Sure. No, I'm really looking forward to tonight, guys. Let me know, what you're talking about in the chat. I'd love to be able to catch up with you after the show. And, I hope everybody's doing nicely, and hope your families are doing well throughout the COVID.
Awesome. So, guys, is he sound okay? Does it need to be louder? Where are we at on his volume? I want to make sure before we start you guys can hear him.
Low.
Low? They're saying low. Let me turn mine up. Do you got any other volume on your end?
That's as max as I can go.
You guys good?
Is that a little bit better, or?
Well, that's like seems a lot better. Better? We good? I think we're good. All right. What is up, guys? Welcome to another episode of In Depth with Defness. I have a special guest joining me tonight. You may know him as Steve. You may know him as Carter's Kids. You may know him as the most insane Gary Carter collector out in the hobby. My man, Steve B, a.k.a. Carter's Kids. How you doing tonight, fella?
I'm doing great, Jeff. How you doing, man?
I'm all right, man. I'm all right. It's Monday. We're back with another episode. I'm excited to do this one with you. I think we got a lot of good stuff to talk about, and I think not only talk about, but we got a lot of good stuff to show the people tonight as far as your collection. So are you ready to get in depth?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
All right, man. So let's start out from the beginning here with you, Steve. Where exactly did you grow up? Like your childhood?
Oh, yeah. So for the first 18 years of my life, I grew up in New York, on Long Island, in particular Nassau County, South Shore. So that's where I became a Met fan, and Long Island's pretty strong with Met fever. If you go into the city and you go to New Jersey, you're talking a little bit more Yankee fans, so that's where that comes from. And then as a child, too, I grew up as an Islander fan. Football, I was a little homeless. My oldest brother liked the Giants, so my wife, who's from the Chicago area, or mid Illinois, and by way of Chicago too. So she was a Bears fan, but when she moved out here, she picked up the Giants. So I guess you could say I'm a Giants fan by default. But I will say, Jeff, as a kid, I found I was really into drawing and everything, and I was really into art, and I still am. So when I was a kid, I really liked the Bengals because I thought they had the coolest helmet in all of football. So as a kid, I guess you can kind of say I was like a Bengals fan, and that's sort of the Boomer Esiason connection. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So Steve, was there any sports involved in your childhood? Did you play any sports?
I did. The first sport I ever played was soccer. I stayed with most sports up through middle school. The unfortunate truth was, by the time I got into high school, I just really didn't get a growth spurt until I want to say like even the summer of like senior year.
Oh
So
wow.
I couldn't compete with on the high school level. It wasn't in the cards. So, but yeah, no, I enjoyed that. I played CYO basketball. Much better defender than shooter, I'll say.
I
But I could
gotcha.
hit the occasional three.
I gotcha. So Steve, your growth spurt, well, at least when I look at my time frame and my growth spurt, I remember me. I think it was between seventh and eighth grade. So I grew. I think it was almost 5 inches. I mean, I just sprung, and I remember like football in eighth grade, just kind of being the big kid. And then once I hit high school, then everybody else had that spurt then, and then it was like, hey, I'm not so big anymore. I can't just run over people. But that's awesome. So where did the connection come from? I guess like your first interaction with the hobby, with sports cards in general. Where did that first take place?
All right. So I won't get into how I became a fan of Gary just yet with that
Yeah,
question, but I'll
no,
say when I was a little kid, my brothers, like every other kid, their age. My oldest brother's 9 years older than me. My middle brother's 5 years older than me. So they were into baseball and sports and card collecting and all, like every kid was.
yeah,
And then they would just get me cards, periodically. I'd go around the corner, and I really enjoyed getting stickers and sticker albums as a kid. So that's really where it all started. My brother's basically getting me stuff, and going to the candy store and finding your favorite player. And even as weird as it sounds, when you used to go to baseball games, it was a very common thing to get like a pack of baseball cards. Like Cons was big
yep.
in Shea Stadium. So my brothers, if they went to a game, it was rare, but if they went to a game, they'd bring me back a pack of cards, and it was just, it was great.
Okay. Would you say? I mean, so was there any one particular person you would say that kind of introduced you to that sticker or card, hobby, or was it more just sprung across, you as your childhood with friends or buddies or whatever?
I would definitely say, my middle brother Robert was definitely was more of getting me stuff, and he was sort of interested in making sure that my collection grew,
Okay.
and then his buddy. But yeah, then it ultimately just became when he kind of grew out of it, just progressively became me going to the card shop that was local to me, and eventually I started working there, and it all just snowballed.
So what age did you start working at the card store?
I was probably around 12 or 13 when I started opening and closing the store when my buddy would go
Wow.
away. Yeah, so I always liken it to the story of Alexander Hamilton, how he used to run a trade post in the Caribbean on behalf of his boss because he trusted him
Right.
to run it. And yeah, I was opening and closing the store, locking up, doing the passcode on the electronic keypad. It was very, I enjoyed it so much, and I got to see the other side of it too. And it's not about making maximum money. It's about having people enjoy themselves enough that they want to come back.
Right. And so would you say that in that experience in this card shop at 13, 14 years old, was your pay more based upon packs of cards or
Oh yeah.
cards, or was it, you actually got money, or was it pretty much weekly or every 2 weeks you were getting cards in place of opening and
Yeah, I mean,
closing?
usually it would be like a once in a blue moon. I'd have to open and close, but other than that, if I was helping out in the store, I'd be putting stuff in boxes, sorting stuff out, putting stuff on shelves, and it was more of a here's some cards if you want money, here's money, but it was very fluid, and it always felt very very fair. I
Sure.
never felt like I got short ended or anything. And my buddy who ran the shop is one of my best friends to this day. So yeah, he's just yeah he's a great guy.
Well, and I hear stories like, I mean, even on some of these other episodes I've done already, it's brought up about how at a young age helping at a card shop or card store. And I'm not saying that you getting paid in cards is a bad thing, because I think that's, as a kid especially, that's probably something more that we'd want than money anyway, right? Because we're there. We love the hobby. We enjoy the hobby. Steve, I don't want to dive in too much on this end, but would you say, as far as childhood goes, was there any specific stories or any kind of maybe problems or anything that you encountered? I mean, was your childhood good? Was there some things on the back end that you want to share? Or
No, it was it was your stereotypical suburban childhood. Both parents in the house, both
okay,
parents working. I didn't have my grandparents for very long. My grandfather, I should say, I had, he passed away when I was in college. But yeah, other than only having one out of four grandparents, everything else is pretty, is pretty. You turn on an '80s movie about a suburban family, it's there. It is.
right. So you're not only a husband, but you're also a father. And how many kids do you have, Steve?
I have three, and my youngest is now two. My
Okay.
middle is four, and the oldest is six.
And they
Two
all
boys and a girl.
you got split up? Are they all girls, boy?
Oldest is a boy, middle is a girl, youngest is a boy. Yeah.
So very, you're kind of flipped on me. Like I got three girls and one boy. My oldest
Yeah.
is a girl, then my son, and then my two others. So when did or I guess as the time goes on, you're working at this card shop, 13, 14 years old. When does Steve decide that one of my main guys I want to start collecting or I have this interest in is being Gary Carter, obviously. When did this come about or when did this spring up?
So in 1989, my brother just started pouring some cards onto me, and I was a fan of Gary Carter. When I was a little kid, we were all watching the World Series in my basement, and I remember being up. I couldn't tell you which home run it was in the game, but October 22nd, 1986. That would have only put me at 3 years, 1 month. And I do remember watching a man hit a home run, my first home run I ever saw hit, and it just so happened to be a World Series game. And I said, "That's my guy," and it happened to be Gary Carter hit the home run. Now, it very easily could have been Lenny Dykstra on a different day. It could
Right?
have, you know what I mean? Like it just that was the moment, that was the place.
Yeah.
And then I saw, a happy guy running around the bases. And the more I got to know him over time, the more I really respected him even more. But as a little kid, I just saw a happy guy hit something that seemed ridiculous, like over the green monster.
Right.
And so my first home run, my first favorite player, and it just stuck. And yeah, and then about 1989, I started getting a bunch of cards. And then by 1992, I took my first trip to the card shop, and I bought a page. They used to. Anybody who's old enough remembers when you went to a card shop, a lot of shops had like binders,
Yeah.
and you could just take the page out, and you paid for like a page a card, and
Right.
it was all card number 45, and I bought a page, and I was over the moon with it. And a fun story with that is my buddy who turned 50, a couple of years ago, for his 50th, I sent him one of those original nine, and I signed it, and I said,
Oh,
"This is where it all
nice.
this is where it all began," and he has that in his collection now. So I thought that was a cool, you know, back to center.
So a home run. So seeing him hit a home run is pretty much what sprung Steve, now also known as Carter's Kids. That was the start of the whole run with Gary Carter.
That's right.
So after the home run, you start getting cards, right? You get this nine. You pull the 9 sheet deal, which now you sent to your buddy. What's kind of the next step, or what's in the process here of how you just continue to decide that, hey, I'm gonna be a super collector of Gary Carter. Not only do I like him, not only am I gonna collect him, but I'm actually gonna be a super collector of Gary Carter.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't think I ever made a conscious decision to be a super collector, other than that's just the way I collected.
Mm-hmm.
I think that people who collect are going to collect anything. It's just so happened you collect baseball cards. It
Right.
could have been teacups. It could have been, it could be anything. But I collected because my brothers would give me multiples and multiples, and I'd fill up a binder with that. It just kind of became normal to me to have multiples in the junk era. And so I was just like, anything goes. So just get more and more of them, fill up a binder. And when I was younger, I had pages and pages, and it'd be like, six 1989 Fleer on one page. And,
Right.
you know how it goes.
Yeah.
and then eventually it just multiplied and he was cheap enough. Let me add that too. To
Yes.
become a super collector, I guess you don't get to pick and choose to some degree who your favorites are. Like, you might really love Wayne Gretzky, but he's going to be horribly expensive to collect.
Or Mike
You might
Trout.
exactly. So I lucked out in a way that Gary Carter is affordable. So I was able to collect the way I collect because of the affordability factor, particularly for a young kid.
Right.
And then I knew that I had done something very odd when my buddy said to me, I get people asking me for Gary Carter all the time, but I have nothing. And they tell him that at other card shops around Long Island, they can't find Gary Carter. In essence, they had come into my vortex like a black hole and never come out. So to some weird degree, I had offset the market as a child, and the
That's
cards actually
awesome.
started to creep up in a little bit of value because I know that sounds BS, but it's the truth that the cards actually became a little bit more valuable because people are like, where the heck are these cards?
Right.
And it was some middle school kid basically consuming the universe.
That is so awesome. That story is incredible. That is
Yeah.
gold right there, Steve.
Mm.
So I follow what you touched on as far as affordable, right? You just mentioned a couple names. Gretzky, I just said like Mike Trout, we could go on. LeBron James. I mean, we could list the name and on and on. You can collect him and he can be part of your PC. But unless you have unlimited amounts of money, it's very hard to be a super collector of a player of that stature, of that value, if you want to use another word or go a different direction. So one other thing I think is very interesting, Steve, is that when you say affordable, him being a very affordable, yes. And I think the other thing you see, as I've gotten to know you as well, like me personally and a lot of other people in the community, they're like, hey man, I'm going through all my cards and I'm finding all my Gary Carters. Because a lot of people that don't collect him or don't PC him, they probably don't have them in their top loaders in their value boxes. They probably have them actually in their Hall of Fame or their base boxes within all the sets or whatever. However they are going to have them organized, right? So everybody's like, hey, I'm going through my Gary Carters. I'm putting them aside. I'm going to ship them to you. And in most cases, I think, like someone like me or anybody else, we're like, hey, man, I'm getting these together. When they come across, when I get more, I hit more. If we're ripping product, I'm going to just ship them to you. Do you find that as something that you see? Is it just me and a couple other people that I know of that do that, or do you find that all around the card community and the hobby that people that know you and know you collect Gary Carter are like, hey man, I'm getting my Carters together and I'm just sending them to you? Or do you feel like you have to trade more or buy them?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag, but predominantly I agree with what you said that most people see him as a a semi-star
Yeah,
player, and they're perfectly comfortable. They may have 100 in their collection, and they're like, yeah, no problem. You
right.
you like it. I don't need them, and I find that I'd like to send people back something. You know what I mean? But if I can get people out stuff, even if they don't send me stuff, and I know you like stuff, I want to get it to you because like like for instance, why am I going to sit on Minnesota Twins when I know you like it? You
Right.
know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so as far as I'm concerned, it's like paying it forward. Just because, like, why not?
Right.
And then people, yeah, I think you hit it on the head that they're like, all right, Gary Carter, yeah, 80s, he's not Mike Piazza, like fresher in their head, so like, yeah, dump him.
Right.
And it helps to have junk era too. That there's just so much of it.
So you've been, and how many years? So you said what year was it? The home run when you
So I
first
saw the
started?
'86 World Series home run at October 22nd, and then yeah, I you have very few memories as a small child, but that one stood out.
Right. So over the course of these years, so 80, we're what, 14 years in? No, we're 34 years in. I'm sorry, my math is way off. Way off. 34 years in. Wow, I'm usually pretty good with numbers. It's been a long day. So 34 years in, collecting Gary Carter. What would you say, and this might be hard for you to answer, but what would you say is the most unique Gary Carter item that, not that you've bought, that you've been personally given?
personally given. Okay.
And I know you might have, hey, I have more than one, or there's a couple, or whatever, and that's fine. We know you have some very unique stuff, so.
I mean, personally given, I can certainly say the check you sent me stands out as
Really?
yeah, as something like, because now you're eliminating a lot of my perspective, because I it's, if you're gonna say given, that's a different animal than what I bought.
Well,
Um,
that's coming next, but I wanted
yeah.
to do the given first.
Let me see. Yeah, so I'd have to find it inside of here, but yeah, certainly, probably the check stands out in my mind as a unique item.
Okay.
If I could dig it up, and there's just so many boxes.
And here's the well. While you're looking for that too, why don't we just talk? Why don't we go to the other side of it? Why don't we go to the most unique Gary Carter item or card you've personally bought?
Yeah, so that's a little easier for me to answer. So I got to go to the Death Star here.
Guys, you just got to be patient with him. He does have a ton of Gary Carter stuff. It's not just cards, it's items, it's everything. Anything Gary Carter. So,
So the unique, I'll show you a couple of items, and then I don't know. So if you want to talk super unique, I've shown this a billion times, so everybody's probably like, yawn. But this is a Mickey Mantle card that was owned by Gary. I bought a 1959 set of Gary Carter that he owned.
yep.
And so some of these cards were pieced together as a child, and some of them put together as an adult. But what made this card unique was right above Mickey, the cartoon Mickey on the back is signed Gary.
Yep.
Now, when I bought this set, many cards were slabbed, like the Bob Gibson rookie, and others weren't. This was not one of the slabbed. And when I was pulling all the cards out of the 9-slot holders that he had them in, I've saved all those pages in my collection too. But
Wow.
my heart dropped because I saw that. I knew to be looking for this. And in particular, it seems weird, but 1959 and 1958, around 59 and 58 are the most common years that he wrote on his cards. Now, maybe he just got into a little bit of a thing as a child, and he just started putting his name on. Where I work, my boss was telling me that when he was a kid, they used to set up like a bucket in the middle of the room, and they basically wing the cards at the bucket, and if it went in, you got to keep all the cards that missed the bucket around it.
Wow.
So this might have been him saying, "This is my card, and it's not being winged because I don't want to lose it." Or if somebody else did get it, maybe it's like one of those, I'll wing it, but you can't have it. It could have been like one of those deals why he put his name on it. And I had to have this slabbed myself because whoever sold it and whoever put them in didn't really. If now I'm going to be straight with you on this. I had to put a value on this to be graded or authenticated.
Yeah.
And I put 350 because I was like, I don't want to go too high and I don't want to go too low, so I was like 350 seems fair. But I'm going to tell you this: there are some rabid Carter collectors. I can easily see this thing pulling down over $1,000 just by itself.
Oh yeah.
So, but this is the type of thing I'm never going to get rid of. But that's unique. I got this one in the same set. Now, this is a Boston Red Sox card that was in there, but everybody knows Ted Williams did not have a card in that set, but he's on this card. But I mean, the faces are so blurry. He's in there. So what Gary went and did was there were 2 of these cards in the set that he had with it. So I actually got one more than the whole set contained. And on the back, he put Ted Williams. And he made his own Ted Williams card.
Okay.
That's like ridiculous in and of itself.
Right.
And then there's this thing. This is the 1986 Players Association, the union card, if you will, that he'd have to check into hotels and be like, "Hey, I'm a member of the Baseball Association," and they get rates and everything like that.
Wow.
And this is from 1986 season, so this was in his wallet while the champagne was flowing in Shea when they won the World Series.
Wow.
So that's a really weird one too. And then there's other weird things too. Like Gary was apparently potentially like a donor or something to this minor league baseball team.
Yeah.
And the suite was named after him. Now I don't know if it was necessarily where he sat, but it was named the Gary Carter Suite.
Right. Right.
And when the I guess either when they renovated the stadium or did something to it, this plaque came off, and now I have it.
Wow.
So I mean, there's
So, Steve, when you say I think we're approaching 27K now. Is that just in cards, or is that including your Gary Carter items as well, like the plaques and things like that?
That's just cards. If I counted all the other stuff, it would be, the body count would be a lot higher.
I mean, do you have not to say you're gonna hit it right on exact, but do you have an idea on the number of how many non-card Gary Carter items you have?
It's got to be in the hundreds. It's at this point, it's hard to speculate. I tried to speculate how many autographs I have. I think it would be an easy estimate to say 300 autographs.
Wow.
That's probably very conservative. So it's just one of those things where, it's hard for me to speculate on non-Carter items because, there's so much.
Okay.
And I'm trying to find that check.
And just so everybody's clear too, any kind of Gary Carter like card or anything Gary Carter, the cards, like if it's a card that has, if he's not on the front, so like an example would be an 86 Topps manager card for the Mets, right? He was on the Mets in 86. It would be his name that's on the back of the card. Anywhere where it states Gary Carter, whether it's a picture of him or it's on the back of a manager's card or anything that has Gary Carter on it somewhere, he collects, and he would count that as a Gary Carter card. So approaching 27,000 Gary Carters. We kind of set out to say, hey, let's push a goal for him. Let's approach 27. Let's hit 27, and then let's move on of the new goal of 3,000 Gary Carters. How long do you estimate? How long do you think if you hit around 27,000 Gary Carter cards, and you have to get yourself another 30,000? What do you think? What do you think time frame wise? I know you can't say, hey, it's going to be X amount of years, but what do you ballpark the time frame in getting another 3,000? Or let's see.
Yeah, I need 3, about 3,000.
Yeah. My numbers are off today.
If I'm working quickly, I can do it by the end of the summer.
Okay.
I mean, I just get lots. I just get bunches and bunches of lots. I can get 100 at a time. I just want a lot. Here it is, Jeff. It was right at the beginning, and I should have seen it. But I just get bunches and bunches of lots where I just got a sticker lot of 100 stickers for $5.
That's awesome.
So they can pour in just very quickly. A couple of months ago, Jeff Airtime was teasing me. But he said, "Would you get another 1,000 this week?" And I was like, "Only 500." And he was like, "So." But there was like a 2-week period where I, no joke, pulled in about 2,000 cards. But if this is what I was most unique gifted, and this is actually what Defness Jeff gave me here. And if you look at the dollar amount on this check, it's staggering.
Yeah,
and it's from a card dealership.
Yep, from 2000.
So, I mean, that's pretty amazing that, I've never seen a check from a player this large.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's just so cool to think, like, he was probably buying a car for his daughter.
Right. Yeah.
And it would be right around the time when his kids would be old enough for college. And, who knows? Maybe it was for his son. But the point is, it would be right around the time when his kids would be ready to go to college. And coincidentally, Jeff, this one here is for car insurance for his daughter.
Look at that.
So maybe that check bought the car that this check was written to pay the insurance for.
I bet. What's the check numbers on those? What's the difference? What's
8370 and 8275. So it puts it right in
Yeah, that's
conjunction.
right in line. Wow, that's crazy. You you got them both.
Yeah.
So Steve, being a super collector, or this just kind of coming about for you for Gary Carter, do you have an idea, or do you know if you have for sure every single like Gary Carter card? Now I'm not saying necessarily every unique autograph, every serial numbered card, if there's a series of 9 out of 99 and there's 99 autos. What I'm getting at is, do you know, based on how many different Gary Carter cards there are, as individual differences, not numbered, but do you think you're close to having all of them?
Yeah, so as weird as it sounds, I'm not even close. So a lot of the playing years stuff, it's hard for me not to have something from the playing years, but certain things do stand out that I'm missing. There's a
Okay.
1976 sugar packet. There's an FBI, not the Federal Bureau, but food and beverage like disc.
Yeah.
There's some weird ones out there that I'm just missing. One that stands out that's like my white whale now is the 1990 Smokey Bear, 8990 Smokey Bear San Francisco Giants set. It's a larger car. It's like a 4x6 or a 5x7. I can't find it. But yeah, there's very few in the playing years that I could stand out and say I need that. As for the post playing years, yeah, I'm very behind in what I need there because there's just so much of it and so many varieties of like the same card. It's a rainbow thing, and it's so yeah. I'm not close. I mean, I put the head count of my unique cards at somewhere about 1550, but a lot of those are like miscuts and misprints and autograph. So like I consider it unique if I have, let's say I have the 1975 rookie, but I have it signed. Those are
Yeah.
two unique cards.
Right.
So people could look at that and say, all right, now your numbers askew. It's not authentic. But if you look at my collection, each card is slightly different than the other one. So only somebody who's serious about this is going to really understand that.
So do you have an actual database
I
of
keep
all
it all
your?
in a spreadsheet in Excel. Yeah.
Wow, that is insane. So in that Excel sheet, is it calculating every time you add a number, like the head count or the total count?
Yeah, so I have the basic sum formula in there, so that whenever I add it on, it gives me a head count of how many. I had to split it. I couldn't do one long page; it's too much. I had to split it into decades,
Right.
and my '80s decade has I think 905 or 900 unique cards inside of it. Yeah.
Have you personally met Gary Carter?
No, that's like the biggest tragedy of my sports life is that I never had the opportunity to meet him, and I don't want to say I didn't have the opportunity. I'm sure I could have gone to a show or something as a kid, but
Right.
it really with two working parents, it just wasn't feasible. But yeah, no, I never got to meet him, but I enjoy talking to people that have, and they have fun
Nice.
stories.
So I mean, obviously you would plan, or you'd want to meet him sometime. Is he still? I mean, I don't even know. Does he do any kind of meet and greets or shows? Have you seen anything ever come up for him being out at any kind of card shows or sporting events or nationals of any years? Or
Yeah, well, he passed away in 2012, so
oh, that's right.
he was pretty active at all those shows, like you said. He'd go to like the All Star games and all that stuff. But yeah, he was very very active. It's just that either I wasn't paying attention close enough, or I just couldn't get there. But yeah, it's just one of those things that just never aligned for me.
Wowzers, huh?
That's
So
that's why I have the Gary Carter collection stuff. Is he passed away and his wife
so you
auctioned it off.
I
Yeah.
got you. So you got it off the auction from when he passed away. I got
Well,
you.
yeah, I got it from Third Market. So the auction money, I believe, went to charitable causes, and then obviously, the Third Markets, up their prices from the auction. So
Wow, insane. Is there any other items or certain things you want to share with us that are unique, or that you just want to put on the camera, that's as far as being
sure,
the Gary Carter super collector you are?
sure. Let me put these back, dude. I have so much stuff right here. I'll try to like machine gun it out. as fast as I can for you, so I don't
Oh,
bore
well, we
your
got
people.
take your time, man. We got plenty of time.
So this right here is, dare I say, it's my favorite piece.
Wow.
But forget about the denim. Like I'm a denim freak, and so
Oh,
I
that's
got this
cool.
coat. I got this denim coat off of Etsy, and I cut the arms off. I just like the look of it.
Yeah.
But anyway, this leather coat was Gary's coat, so I have his coat.
Wow.
And then staying in line with his coat. Oh, and being I started collecting Mark Messier. I put the captaincy on there. Um, this is a game used jacket of Gary. It's a starter
The
from his career,
Expos, nice.
and I just put some pins on there, of
Yeah.
Gary. This jacket right here is a recent acquisition. This was also a game season used. It's probably either 86, 87, or 88, depending on, I'd have to do more. But you could see it. It clearly has pine tar all over it.
Uh huh.
And if anybody didn't see my video about it, and inside the pockets when it's signed and everything, it's probably given to somebody close to him after a game or something like that,
Sure.
or after the season.
Yeah.
There was a captaincy inside of the pocket, so this would go on the shirt. Now, Keith Hernandez wore the C on the team. Gary never did, even though he was captain. So I want to say, being that the C is there, Gary was like unofficial captain in 86, 87, but I believe in 88 he was officially captain.
Okay. Okay.
So this to me places the coat around 88.
I gotcha.
So it seems as though he kept it in his pocket, maybe as good luck, because athletes, a lot of them are superstitious.
Right. So
And
that would tell you something else about Gary Carter, that he was actually team captain, but he did not want to advertise, or he didn't want, you know what I mean? Like, not wearing that captain badge, not, you know what I mean? Like, it kind of speaks volumes for who he was, you know? I mean, think about that for a second. Like, it may seem so simple, or it may seem like not the biggest deal in the world, but so many people want their eyes on them, and so many people want the head glare, or hey, I'm the captain, I'm the leader, I'm the whoever. And for him to be that for a team, and not actually, let Hernandez or someone else wear it, even though he was actually the team captain, like, that, to me, that speaks volumes.
yeah, so again, his personality was very humble. I mean, he was a fierce competitor. What I read about him, and what I hear other players say, players that played against him hated him. Players that played with him loved him.
Right.
So this was in the other pocket, his batting glove.
Okay.
So I mean, I got a bunch of stuff, but I agree with you that. Yeah, he wasn't about showboating it, and it wasn't a hot dog by any stretch. And
Right.
I appreciate that more and more.
Right.
Because I could say as a kid I was a little bit more of a hot dog, but as I got older, like the hot dog kind of leaves you, and you're just like, just score the touchdown, give the referee the ball.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like
Yep.
do
Do your job and go home, right?
Yeah, exactly. So definitely as I got older, I appreciated the lunch pail, more so than the showboat. Like the Icky Shuffle was funny.
Yes.
But when you stop to think about it, it's like Barry Sanders had it right. Just hand the ball over.
Yeah. Just keep moving. Move along.
Yeah.
Move along.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
So, I guess that was kind of going to lead into one of the next questions. What do you feel you've gained most out of collecting Gary Carter these 30, 34 years?
That's a really interesting question, and I think a tough one to answer. But what I've gained most is maybe perspective. You realize that you have enough disposable income to collect, and not everybody does. So you begin to appreciate more your ability to do something and be thankful for what you have and what could be taken from you. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're a job loss away from not being able to pay the mortgage. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
there's a lot of things that puts into perspective. Like looking at everything here, it screams disposable income.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Another one would be, there's a lot of friendships that were made through it. People are always like, oh, I honestly never really thought I would network this much through YouTube. I thought it was going to be more of a, here's my stuff. I might, meet a couple of people, say hello. but it would be a little more impersonal. But the YouTube's become a lot more personal in
Right.
terms of the connection. So that's really come out of this a lot too. Even if people don't, Gary's not their favorite player, they're just like, hey, I like this dude. You chat on the phone or you text or something. A lot of, that's really cool. So there's been a lot of perspective on it. And then on top of that, just getting to know more about Gary, the more I appreciate him.
Okay.
So, yeah. So, I
What?
mean, there's when I look at athletes today, or even athletes of his time period, the man wasn't a cheater. He earned what he got. He played through pain when his career was ending because his body was breaking. A lot of guys in the '80s and '90s, they cheated to keep that body going.
Right.
And he played the game fairly, and there's a lot of guys. And again, I don't want to step on anybody's toes who collect guys who cheated and use steroids, HGH, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They're your favorite. Listen, that's another thing. Being judgmental, like I feel like I was more judgmental about, like, why do you collect that guy? It's just like, you can't help it. Like, he was your favorite player when you were a kid. That's that. It's not going to change. It's not like you're condoning the cheating. It's just like, he was my favorite player. He cheated, but I can't not like him. I
Right.
can't stop not liking him.
Right.
So from that angle, it's like, okay, I see why you collect Barry Bonds. But the bottom line is, it's given me more perspective about doing things the right way. And, again, my father was a great example of, doing it the right way, and my grandfather and everything. But it's interesting that birds of a feather flock together. Like, you gravitate toward a certain thing.
Yep.
Because it's good. And
Yes.
so, like, that's given me perspective on that too, to be a better person out of it.
Steve, I think those are some awesome explanations on what you've kind of gained and what you've learned from collecting Gary Carter and from, these 34 years. So if you were to give advice to anybody, not saying anybody else is going collecting Gary Carter, but if you were to give anyone else, a collector out there, advice, and they want to start like super collecting a player, or they want to be a super collector of a player, what kind of advice, for you doing this now for 34 years with Gary Carter, what advice would you give that person?
I would basically say, don't let the don't let the don't let it overwhelm you. I think that's key.
Okay.
There's been times when I want to chase down everything I see. It's sort of like this hunter-gatherer mentality where it's like, oh, I don't have that. I need it. I need to get it.
Yes.
And we don't, you even said it too, but I've been saying this, forever too, but it's, you don't need any of this stuff. You want it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you need shelter, you need food, you need those things, but these things you want. So when you keep it into perspective like that, like, don't go into debt over this stuff. Don't buy over your head. It's one of those things where just stay calm. You have a whole lifetime ahead of you to collect.
Right.
And as you retire and maybe you have a little bit more time on your hands and stuff comes up for sale, you're gonna find it eventually. So just that would be, and a lot of people are a lot more patient than I am. But there's also this piece though too, Jeff, is that now that I'm known as the Gary Carter guy, it's almost like I'm living up to something else too, where it's like, I don't know if anybody else has a collection like this,
right?
In size, scale, or depth. And I'm not saying that to be pompous about it. I'm being legitimate. Like, it's a soul search where I'm like, am I trying to be Carter's kids, or am I being Steve? Okay. Where, like, I want to find it to be like, and people would be like, man, that guy just gets the biggest game.
Yeah.
And then it's like, which one am I? Am I Carter's kids or am I Steve? You know what I mean? So the point is, I found myself hunting very big game to be like, hey, I bagged another elephant. Meanwhile, it's like, did I need to bag that elephant? I'll give you an example right here, Jeff. So this is Gary's golf bag.
Okay.
Name's embroidered on it. He signed it.
Yep.
I didn't need to have this.
Right.
I got a bonus check earlier in the year, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get it. I really did not need that.
Right.
So it's that's sort of what I'm talking about, of keeping it in perspective for a collector. If, the guys used to joke around with me, some of my friends, they'd say, when you die, it's going to become, all the cards are going to get encapsulated, and it's going to say, Carter's Kids Collection. Like
Yeah.
when people have
Yeah.
like the Dimitri Young collection, like, baseball player collecting other baseball. Like, they're
Yes.
like, yours is gonna be the Gary Carter, the Carter's Kids collection. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want this to spiral out of control where it becomes, it's not me.
Right.
It's a persona.
Right.
And so this, I think that golf bag represents a little bit of the evil in the collecting, in that, it can kind of, like, you feel the dark side touching your soul, where you're like, get it,
Yeah.
when it's like, reality is like, don't get it,
I,
so there you go.
and there's a word that you used. There's a word that's just sticking out to me right now. That right when you said it, and I was actually thinking of the word right before you said it, because it's crazy. But it's that word patience, right? Having patience, and I think we all tend to sometimes jump the gun or rush into things, right? And whether that's us buying something for our collection, our PC, or that's us listening to what somebody else is telling us and wanting to talk over them and get to the end of it and create our own ending of what they're trying to tell us, whatever it is. Patience is a tough thing, I think, for all of us. But if we work on that patience, and if we just sit back, like, I mean, some of this stuff, especially in the card community, right? I bring this up and I talk about this all the time. If you're looking at cards on eBay, right? You can put you can watch your cards, you can create your watch list, right? What ends up happening, and I'm sure this has happened to you, Steve, and I'm going to ask you right now, as your watch list on eBay with different Gary Carter cards, items, whatever it might be, for that, or for Messier or Boomer Esiason, whoever, doesn't even have to be Gary Carter. Do you ever get an email when you don't jump the gun? Do you ever get an email after you watched an item where the seller kicks back a thing and says, the seller's offering 4% off this item. The seller's offering 25% off this item. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, one of my newest PCs I started a while back here was Carius LeVert for the Nets, basketball player. I love him, and he's got it, right? I got his Prism Silver Rookie. I put it on a watch, right? I wanted to jump the gun. I wanted to just buy one because I wanted to have one, right? Because I was starting this PC of him, and I just wanted to buy it. But I kept the patience. I got a seller discount offer, and they were all priced around the same price as before. It was like 40% off from the seller. 4 or 5 days later, I saved myself, like, this was a Prism Silver Rookie. I saved myself like $40 just by being patient.
Right.
Instead of jumping the gun. We all want it today. But if we wait till tomorrow, we might save ourselves. And that's a meal, man. That's a meal for you and your couple kids, or you put that in, putting things into perspective, right?
Sure.
I appreciate what you just shared as far as when I told you about what you've learned from collecting this whole, this 34 years of PC and Gary Carter, super PC in them.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That I can resonate on that. But like you said, yeah, when I tell my students all the time, I say, you're gonna earn $200 at your summer job, and it's gonna be the world to you. You're gonna be like, I got $200.
Yeah.
But then you're gonna go to McDonald's and you're gonna get a Big Mac meal, and you're gonna pay $10, and you're gonna be like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
That's 5% of my pay in this meal. So like you said, yeah, if you save yourself the money, that could be a nice fun night out with the family. $40 goes a long way when playing mini golf or something.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, you're exactly right on that.
And that's just one card. And I'm not saying every card is going to be 40% off from a seller. A lot of times when I see them, it's usually 4% off or 6% off. But you'd be surprised. Some sellers, when they really need money and they see people are watching and they just want to sell it, they drop that price. Crazy.
Yeah, and then I have all my rules on how to work auctions and how to work bids and how to work. I don't know if you do, man. I'm talking like live auctions on
Oh, okay.
YouTube. I have my ways of it's a chess game. No matter what, you have to think methodically. That if you want to get to your objective, you've got to understand how the system is operating. And I call it the diagonal rules, where the person is expecting you to move this way, but you're going to move on this, and it's going to throw off the equilibrium, hopefully in your favor.
Right. Nice.
So it's not about being a ripoff either. It's just
No.
about being safe and not being foolish with your money.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, we can both benefit from this thing. You want to move it, I want it, but I don't want to pay an arm and a leg, but you want me to pay an arm and a leg, I get it. So it's the diagonal rules of auctions and everything else that it's just ideas to think about when don't get wrapped up in something. Like you said, like we were talking about, it's patience.
Yes.
Just think.
Patience. Patience.
My first auction I ever went to that was live on YouTube, I intentionally wanted to lose my Gary Carter auction the first time around.
Really?
My goal was to lose the auction because I wasn't going to set the tone that I was going to pay any amount of money for a card that I wanted. So I wanted to set it with the seller that no matter what happens, I'm not a fool.
Right.
I'm going to let this one go.
Right. Right.
So you gotta set a tone.
And it's funny you bring that up because this is also something that I just ventured across on a Twitter sales thread this last weekend. And shout out real quick just to Ben. He's on his 2-year anniversary from Midwest Box Breaks, but he has a sales thread which is very good on Twitter. It gets a lot of eyes. So anybody who's trying to sell cards or looking to buy some stuff, make sure you're checking that out if you're on Twitter. But somebody posted a Kirby Puckett, and I'm a Kirby Puckett guy, right? Posted a Kirby Puckett 8-card lot. And there was 2 unique Puckets in there that I believe I don't have. And I have a lot of Puckets. Nothing like your Gary Carter collection. Not even close. But there was like 2 of them that I saw that I was pretty sure I didn't have. And the guy was like looking. It was like $8 or something. Like $1 a Puckett card shipped. So I jumped on it. So then obviously somebody else sees me do that. So then all of a sudden immediately they post like a 15 lot Kirby Puckett. And then they tag me in it, which I can appreciate. But at the same time, you're posting all 15 cards are cards that I have 10 or 15 or 20 of the Puckett, and the price is a lot more than what the other lot was. And I'm like, hey, I appreciate the tag, but no thanks. Going back to you saying don't be a fool, right? Don't set the tone. And even if the tone is set, don't let yourself get played, I guess.
Exactly. And again, I just want to, say that there's a lot of great auctions that go on out there.
Yes.
That I feel like they're good value, and not only that, it's good friendship. Like I just saw Jimmy Gunn's post. I love Jimmy's auction.
Oh, Jimmy's my boy. Yep.
And I love RSR. I love your auctions.
Yep,
I like being at them. But there's back in the game collecting, like Gary Crazy for Cardboard. There's a bunch of like auctions where it like really works, and Eloy on Fridays where it's like, all right, this is fun, this is entertaining, and I don't feel like it's an arm and a leg. But at the same time, let's talk about eBay with the auction. Like sometimes those sellers know your username, and it's like, you know what? Instead of setting the bar here for this card, I'm going right here because I know that this guy's bought a bunch from me.
Right.
And now the card which should have gone for 40, like let's just pull a number. Now he's like, let's make the buy it now 65.
Right.
And boom. Like you played yourself. Like be prudent with what you want to do, but don't play yourself, like you said. And just while I'm on it, I saw Jimmy a while back say, Jimmy, this is your signed card.
Nice.
That's my new thing.
That's another
Jeff.
Unique thing.
Yeah, that's my new thing,
So,
Jeff, is I kind of want every YouTuber that I know, when they ship me a card...
Your next Carter stack will have my signature on one of them for you.
Yeah, exactly. I want to try to get... I have so many, and Jimmy even said, he's like, I feel bad defacing an old card like this, but I know that you have 200 of them.
And I think Jimmy knows, as well as and I know, that you're not going to take any offense to it if it's now if it was somebody that maybe had some evil against you or something and they did something dumb, but just a signature of someone's auto or whatever on a Gary Carter, I mean, I think we all know you appreciate that. That's
Yeah,
that's
so
that's a
that's
person
kind of
you
where I
are.
want to be next. I want to be there where, like, when you send me a care package, send me one.
Yeah,
Like, send me one with your name on it, and I kind of want to make that part. I have hundreds of each card in many cases, so it's not like, it's not like you're upsetting. Like, I actively want to try to do that. I've even thought about sending cards out to players, young and old, being like, "Hey, what's your favorite Gary Carter memory? Can you put like a little tidbit on one of his cards?" So I'd send
that's
like Clayton
cool.
Kershaw a Gary Carter card and be like, put like a little memory like briefly on it
Yes.
and see what happens. But like, I'm like too selfish. I'm like, I don't want my card to go out there and never come back to me.
Right?
So so I think it
Send
would be a
my
unique
card
thing.
back, or I'm
Yeah,
hunting you down.
yeah,
I'm gonna send out my troops.
yeah.
So another question I forgot to hit on: how many games have you been to any games when Gary Carter was playing, and how many?
No, no,
Never
I've
caught
never
a
been to.
game.
I know I've never been to a live game with him. My brothers have.
Okay.
And then I remember very vividly in 1988 when we were talking about the cards that they give away at the stadium.
Yeah.
My brothers and my father got tickets very rarely to baseball, and if he did, it was usually through his cousin Sal.
Okay.
But the bottom line was, my father was taking, he had 3 tickets, and my 2 older brothers are going, and I'm not. And I remember being so upset, and my mother wound up taking me to the movie theater and everything like that. But um, yeah, it was one of those things where, and then they brought me home the pack of cards, and it sort of made up for it. But I was sort of like angry. That would have been my one game in my whole life.
Yeah.
I would have been at the stadium when he was playing, but it
Wow.
just wasn't. It wasn't meant to be.
I think it's still so amazing and so unique, just Steve, you in general, for having just such this connection with him and collecting him, and not actually personally ever having a chance to meet him, not being to an actual live game. I mean, that's, man, it's crazy. It's interesting. So you being a teacher, what level do you teach?
So I did. I taught high school, all various grades, for 10 years, in the town I work in,
Okay.
and I wanted to move to a different age group. So I said, let me try the middle school. When I first started teaching, I got my teaching license. I thought I was going to be a middle school teacher, but then I got a job in the high school. So I said, okay,
Sure.
just adapt it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when the opening became available at the middle school, my supervisor was like, "Hey, you want it?" I was like, "Yeah, I want it." So now I've done, every level except sixth at the middle school, and I've been
Wow.
here. I'll be going into my 4th year at the middle school. So yeah, I teach 7th grade world history.
Okay. So, do you ever get that within your classrooms? Is there ever that Gary Carter time?
Oh yeah. So when I talk about inflation and I talk about, the value of things, I always play. There's a couple of YouTube clips about the collapse of the baseball card market,
Yep.
and I can compare that against the debasement of currency, like in ancient Rome, and how the Spanish spent their money during the age of exploration. And then the kids usually bring up to me, they're like, "Is that like the baseball card thing we talked about with ancient Rome?" And I'm like, "Yes, that's exactly right." And then I give them my example of, trying to control the market. And to make a very long story short, Jeff, there's this one card, a 1985 police set Gary Carter. This was a white whale. I couldn't find this thing.
Yeah.
My buddy sends me a text message and he says, "Hey, I found it. You can have it." So I was like, "Okay." So I was like, "Tell me how much it costs and everything. I'll cover your shipping." And he sent it over to me. And I said, "Wait a minute. If he just found one out of nowhere, are there more of these things?" So I went online. And sure enough, there was a dude selling. And
Wow.
okay, now this is me. I'm out of my mind, and I know that already.
Right.
So what do I do, Jeff? I go to the counter. You know how it says, how many do you want? So
Yes.
I click it up, and I'm waiting for it to say you've maxed out. It goes to 99, and you can't put 100.
Oh.
So it's like, wait a minute, like this dude's got some cards here.
Yeah.
So I sent him a message via eBay. I said, "How many of these things do you have?" And I was expecting him to say, 200 maximum.
Right.
He's like, "I have 2,500."
Wow.
And I was like, "You have 2,500. We're making a deal on all these. Let's do it." So
Wow.
it went from being my hardest card to find to becoming my most abundant.
That's
And
crazy.
and I explained to the students that the card by itself was deemed by collectors of Gary Carter to be anywhere from $20 to $50 price range because it was so weird to find.
Yeah.
Now that my thought process, and again, I'm weird in the head about this stuff. I said if I buy all of them right now, I keep the price up because nobody else can get them.
Right. Right.
So in essence, this is like a supply and demand. If I have the total supply and it's no longer available on the market, it's as if there's zero on the market.
Right.
So I said, in order to keep my value up, I'm going to keep it, and I'm going to be like a bank and not lend it out.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I
4D chess there.
Yeah. So I show the students the example of how had the Spanish Empire not spent the money or spent it slowly, the value of gold would have stayed more stable. It would have declined over time because there would have been more on the market. But, because I captured all of it at once, it wasn't going anywhere.
As I sit here, Steve, and we go through this interview, this in depth. One of my I keep reflecting back on one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite movies of all time. Have you ever seen the movie Good Will Hunting?
Sure. With
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck?
Sure.
My boy Steve, he's wicked smart. You like apples? How you like them apples, huh?
Yeah. So, it becomes, but then again, it goes back to what I was saying before, like, am I Carter's kids or am I Steve?
Right.
That part of my head, I'm very strategic. Don't play me in a board game, you'll get embarrassed. Like, don't play me in Connect 4, I will school you up and down. Like, I'm very strategic like that, and when it comes, that's why I said like the diagonal rules to auctions.
Yeah.
If you're gonna outsmart me, you got to be pretty bright. So like, I'm gonna make sure that I find the angle on it, and it's fair to you, and everything seems to align just right, like a prism where everybody gets the rainbow.
I gotcha.
So so that's the way it's. I'd rather it be, but yeah, it's just But like you said before, 34 years of collecting will do that.
Right.
It'll hone those skills. I can honestly say, again, without tooting my horn, I'm a Gary Carter expert. So if you throw an autograph in front of my face, I'll tell you if it's real or not.
Right. That's
and
awesome.
I'll tell you if it's authentic. I can do that. And when people try to say, "Oh, I have this card. You want to buy this? You want to buy?" You're overvalued, man. Right. And the other thing that a lot of people don't understand that is. I have this one guy I buy cards from, and I say, all right, he's got 5 cards at a time, and I say, to make it worth your while, I'll pay 25 cents a head for the card.
Yeah.
But usually it's dribs and drabs, maybe 10 cards maximum, right?
Right.
But when he says, I got 170 cards for you, we're not doing 25 cents anymore. Now we're talking scaling it back to between a nickel, a dime, and we settled on 15 cents. It's like when you're going bulk, the price reduces. That's why you can go to Costco and get a 15-pound bag of peanut M&Ms for $8.
Exactly. Yep.
It's all because of it's quantity and bulk.
Yep.
If you want to move the bulk, you got to be willing to work with the buyer.
Yep. Exactly.
So, but yeah, so I'm thrilled, man. I really this is really cool, and I don't know, my favorite movie is Jaws. How about that?
That's a great movie. So my two, Good Will Hunting and Shawshank Redemption. Those would be my top 2 favorite movies of all time. Like, man,
Shawshank's excellent.
Get busy living or get busy dying.
Absolutely.
Man, that's a great movie. There's a lot of great messages in that movie, as well as Good Will Hunting. So where was I gonna go here? Something else. Oh, Steve. In the course of these 34 years, are you like a lot of us where there's been that gap? Or where you like took a break or you kind of stopped? Or have you been pretty well for those 34 years since Gary's came in the picture? Has it been pretty steady for those 34 years?
That's a fair question in that I had to do some thinking about that. It's been fairly steady. I was, collecting like a locomotive all through late elementary, middle school, and through high school.
Okay.
And then when I got to college, it wasn't because of the girls and the jobs got in the way and all that stuff. It was more of a timing thing. And I really didn't have like a decent internet connection through college. I had to use my college on the campus. I was a commuter, so I had to go to the campus to use the internet. So there was, if you want to call it like a little bit of a gap, but my buddy would still send me cards through the mail, and I would still try to find stuff. And as soon as I got the decent internet connection at my parents' house when I lived with them when we first moved to Jersey,
Yeah.
it was like on again. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
and there was a lull, I'll say, because of the internet, but there really wasn't like a major stoppage. There were times when I questioned whether or not I wanted to keep all this stuff or like get money for a car.
I gotcha.
And I actually did put my stuff up on Craigslist maybe in 2003 or 4. And a guy came in and he's like, I just want these. And of course, he wanted all my PSA 10s
Right.
of the 1975 SSPC, of which I think I own almost 50% of the available 10s of that.
Wow.
And he was like, I only want these. And I'm like, no, it's either all or nothing. And
Right.
there was that moment when I could have just let it all go. But I kept a few cards on the side where it's like, I can't get rid of these. But there were those moments when I was like, do I want a car? But I'm glad I didn't, because this has been a very constant thing through every layer of my life. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Oh man, so we're a little over an hour now. So is there anything else you wanted to share? I mean, this is your time. This is your moment on the in-depth chair. Oh, I do want to say one thing. I lost my train of thought there for a second because I was trying to remember what I was going to say. Man, it's been a crazy Monday. I know what it's like to have internet issues. I still have those recently. Was down for a week and a half. Had to reschedule your in-depth as well as Ben's because of internet issues. Not fun. But, no, man. Hey, I think it's been an awesome in-depth. I think it's been fun. I mean, again, it's all about having fun. It's about getting to know you more. You showing off kind of what you have in your super collection of Gary Carter. But, man, whatever, man. It's no rush. Anything else you got to say? You want to share? Shout outs? Anything?
Yeah. So I really, if everybody's listening out there, I just want to say thank you. Hopefully, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in and given Jeff thumbs up on this and everything.
People will watch this later too. I guarantee. It's just the timing. Yep.
Yeah, and I appreciate everybody that's come in. I could see the comments roll in the corner of my eye, but I want to thank everybody for that. I'm still growing as a human being and as a collector
We
too.
all are.
So, I didn't want to step on anybody's toes or anything like that. But there's certain ways of looking at things, and then there's better ways. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm always trying to get better myself. So I'll say that. The other side of it is, there's like, if I can say, like, there's a couple of channels I feel like that are really undersubscribed.
Sure.
And my channel has like 520 or something like that subscribers, and
His link is in the description below too, guys, so you can click it.
And I feel like I'm oversubscribed. You know what I mean? Like, for what I do and what I collect, I'm sure I bore a lot of people to death who are like, another Gary Carter. I get that. But there's guys who I feel like they bring a lot to the table, and I've spoken to these guys, and I'm friends with these guys. Like, please check out Crazy for Cardboard. He's a great dude, Gary. All right,
The Famster, our favorite redneck in the hobby.
And he's just a really great dude. I really enjoy going to his. I couldn't get to a lot of his. He goes earlier in the days, and I'd be working, and I couldn't get over to his stream. But now in the summertime, I can catch him a lot more. But I can mention a lot of people, but a lot of people, some of the channels have like a lot of subscribers. So you guys don't know.
Yeah.
But if I could just keep it to guys that I feel like are undersubscribed. Now I know the next guy hasn't really made anything because he's still getting it together. I sent him a message, but I haven't gotten any word back. But the Book of Festus Kyle, if you've ever met this guy, he's like the gentlest soul you ever want to meet. And he's got the funniest stories. When I tell you, if you ever get a chance to talk to this man on the phone, and he's got the funniest stories. But hopefully when he starts making videos again, he's a great dude. Check him out. Again, Book of Festus Kyle. Seriously. And then
see the dude that wears the top hat?
No, he wore he usually wears baseball caps.
Okay. I
But like
thought that was
your
him.
standard fare,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
He's a real nice dude. And, he's a real nice dude, and his son Billy is like the hype man. So like he'll
Okay.
say something, and like the champ just said it, like like that
yeah.
type of hype man.
Yeah.
So like his son is hysterical, but it's like watching Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson. It's just funny.
Okay.
And lastly, again for a channel that I feel is undersubscribed would be Isman70. Um,
I know Isman. Yeah.
yeah, he's a New England collector. He's a great dude. Um, I can't tell you, like, I just really enjoy like relaxing and watching his channel. And he's cracking packs. He's showing what he got. He's just a real down to earth, like salt of the earth kind of guy. And
Sure.
talking to him on the phone is refreshing. He's got some fun stories too. Like, did you know that he was a semi-pro wrestler at one point in his life?
I didn't know.
And so, like, that's like I was like blown away. He has all these fun stories about things, and being that he's a dad too, but he's a couple of years more advanced into being a dad than I am.
Sure.
And it's like you can see like this is what I might be doing and thinking when my child reaches that age. So like even just talking to him, you get a little bit more of life experience and everything. Even though there's a little bit of a gap in our ages,
Right.
I feel like he and I could have been brothers, when we were born.
Sure.
But those are just three channels that I feel like they're horribly undersubscribed.
Okay.
And I just wanted people out there to check them out. And I know YouTube's made it harder to click on somebody and get over to them. But Book of Festus Kyle, Crazy for Cardboard, and Isman70. Those guys are great dudes. And check them out. But
the only one I may not be would be the book of Kyle, but you can I'll try to look him up, or you can even email me the link like when we're off here, and I'll check and make sure. If I'm not, I'll make sure I smash him a sub for sure and check him out. So
and I appreciate everything you're doing here. I think it's really great how you've tied together the community in a way where we're all linking together.
Yeah.
I really wish that I could do more of that kind of thing. Like I've had ideas where we can kind of do like a YouTuber Christmas holiday thing where we can kind of have like hubs where like you would meet in like the Midwest, the northern west, Midwest.
Yeah.
But we all host at the same time at like from a pub or something like that.
That would be awesome.
Everybody connects like a live feed, and
run with it, dude. Run with it. That's a great idea.
So, it'd be like a tuber Christmas or a tuber holiday or something like that where we could all do it.
Yeah.
So, maybe in the time of COVID, we can wait till the following year. But, there's just like little thoughts, but then I always find myself get bogged down where I'm like, oh, well, the kids got to do this tonight and they got to do that. And everybody could say the same thing at the end of the day. You just have to be willing to put the time in,
That's really what it is, man. But at the same time, too, I want us to go back to a word that was brought up that we touched on a little bit, and that's, we talk about the time, but also patience, right? Taking the patience, taking the time. So even with the whole idea that I think is extremely awesome that you just talked about, the whole tuber Christmas thing, like, okay, so maybe it's not the greatest idea to do this year because, like you said, because of the pandemic and blah, 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 blah. But being patient and maybe getting that all set up and getting it set up properly to do it the following year, right? So just having that patience, and just like with anything in life, So, Steve,
exactly. So,
any other messages? Man, this is your time, brother. Or you got to run?
No, I don't. I just want to say too that there's one thing I noticed in the card community that the West Coast has it on lockdown in terms of getting it together and like keeping the fabric tight. The East Coast really needs to up its game. We are home to the most iconic baseball.
What about us Midwest folks? Are you leaving me out or what?
No. Let me say this.
I gotta be over here all the time.
But I feel like the East Coast has the most iconic. Now again, this is part of this is me cutting like a wrestling promo, so you got it's tongue in cheek. But we got the most iconic sports teams in the entire country. Yet the West Coast, which is newer than us,
right?
They got it tighter. So like we gotta up our game here on the East Coast. Now the Midwest, those guys, they're again the salt of the earth people. They're real nice, real pleasant. But us East Coasters, fast talking, limousine driving, crocodile shoe wearing, woo, East Coasters, we have got to keep it tighter in this community and have more of a tighter fabric and rally points. Just like the West, I feel like the West is strong. Like the West just has it together where they have like rally points. So I feel like the East Coast and YouTube needs to have more of that.
Yeah, it's funny you bring up that whole East Coast thing because I'm gonna rely that to my day job a little bit, like because I get calls from all over, right, all over the U.S. I mean, I always tell you guys 200 to 300 people, and if you ever want me to just screenshot my call log on my cell phone for a day, I'll send you the 50 pages of calls I had come in. But the every time I get a call and I get a customer or a person that calls looking for something and they're from like New York or Mass or something, I typically am thinking this person's gonna be a prick to me, right? And it never fails. Like every once in a blue moon I'll get a good one that calls me. And I was even joking with my buddy that owns the business on Friday when I was over there. I took a call while I was over there, and I got the phone. I go, that was the nicest guy I've ever talked to from New York or New Jersey. Like the dude was just super nice. Usually I'm just ready for the screw you. What do you mean you can't have it in this time? It's crazy. It's crazy that you bring that up in the card thing, like the West Coast, East Coast, Midwest, but it all relates. It's just, I don't know. I just had to share that. It's just kind of funny.
It's the way it is out here. When the whale carcass is floating on the open ocean, each shark's got to get their bite. So that's just the way it is out here on the East Coast. There's too many people in too small of a place.
Right.
But
right.
you kind of grow up moving fast, thinking fast, and to some degree there's a hustle, but I get it. I want to see more unity in the East Coast. That's really what I want to see. And I would like to be that guy who starts to form that patchwork of guys that do it. But again, like I said, because we're so fragmented with our sports teams, there's a lot of heavy sports teams out here.
Right.
Would Phillies fans want to rally around Mets fans and Yankee fans? I don't know. Or is each person going to try to carry their own banner? And maybe it doesn't work because we're too individualistic out here. I don't know. For some reason, it works in the West. It doesn't work in the East. But I want to see it work here.
It sounds like you have a lot of Steve. You have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of good ideas from what you're sharing. It's just trying to get those things in motion, man. Just lead them, do them. Sometimes you just gotta say, hey, you know what? I'm gonna start this thing, or I'm gonna try this thing, and I'm gonna be the leader of this pack and see where it goes.
So, but again, I know that you have another in-depth behind this one. So
not doing it tonight. I said I didn't know if I was gonna have one or two, and they wanted to. They didn't want me to have to do two of them, and we're gonna do it later. So.
Oh, okay, all right. I don't want to hold you up either.
Well. No, I mean we usually go around an hour or so. I mean it's up to you on what. I mean we still got 20 plus people in here. We're still hanging out. If you just want to show us some stuff, or we can just BS, it doesn't matter, man. Or if you got to go and you got to get the kids to bed or whatever, man. I get it.
I'll do a couple of things for the fans out there, and then I'll call it a night for you. How about that?
Alrighty.
So I found this. This is pretty cool. This is a scouting book from 73.
73, yeah.
So this would be the book, and then each color.
So that would have been his.
So he would have been in the minors.
Yeah.
So he would have just came into their system in 72 as a draftee. So that would have been right around the very beginning.
Okay.
And his little scout on him is in there. He's listed as one of the raw talents that they have. So he's not at the top of the. And I found that interesting to have in the collection.
I got everybody fired up in the chat. I usually don't pay attention to chat much once we start these in depths because I want to pay attention to the guests, and I've made that very clear with the people that watch. But I'm seeing a lot of, hey, all New Yorkers aren't buttholes and this and that. I know, guys. I know. I love you guys. I love y'all. You guys. It's not you. Just remember that it's not you. It's the ones that do act that way, that call and just are crazy.
I'll try to keep it real brief.
Sometimes I wonder if some of these guys on the phone want to kill me, and it's like just simply, hey, I can't get you this in this time. We're backed up. This is how it is. What do you mean?
So if you want to see like how this is like a semi like ridiculousness on my part, coins, right?
Wow,
These were
those are
coins.
cool.
These are coins given out for his Hall of Fame induction, given by Mercedes Benz of Montreal, right?
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, what's the difference?
I'm trying to see it between the. I don't
It's
see any difference.
Yeah, exactly. They're the same exact coin, right?
Yeah.
One has a blue felt holder.
Yes.
One
Okay.
has
That's
a
all
red,
the difference is.
and that is two unique items because they came in two different type
I
boxes.
gotcha. So you would count that as two separate items.
Isn't that like messed up? Like then how messed up this gets. Then I'm like, is there a red box? Is there a green box? Is there a
Right.
gray box? So
Right.
now you start like it starts going through your head where you're like, wait a minute, the possibilities are
And then you're
endless.
on eBay, you're on Craigslist, you're searching anywhere and everywhere to see
Yeah,
red box, Gary Carter coin, red box.
exactly. So like when people sell, that's why when guys say, "Oh, you probably already had this one," I want it because it might be missing a copyright on it, or it might be an asterisk that I don't
Right.
have. Like it's just so random.
Yeah.
My wife got me this.
That's
I want to say
cool.
for a Father's Day, either last year or
National
the year before.
treasures, laundry patch,
It's a one of one, so that was cool.
laundry patch. Yeah.
This I always like animation type things, so I saw
That's
this.
dope. I like
And if
that.
you guys follow Egg, his favorite card is a Cal
It
Ripken that he
cometh
pulled,
of an egg, or it cometh an egg. Yep.
and his is a Cal Ripken of the same
He's
set. And I
always
was
got
like,
the
oh,
shot glass in his little comments. Is always the shot glass. Yeah.
yep.
Cheers. Good
And
dude. Good dude.
a buddy of mine, Shamrock RMF, sent
Okay.
me.
That's
He
cool.
he gets in contact with me. He's like, dude, I got a guy who's selling this thing. It's a one of one. You want it?
Yeah,
He
that's
got me
dope.
in contact with the guy. So like again, that's a one of one that I would have never known about had I not had a friend on YouTube checking it out. One last item. I know. I'm being
Isman's
a
in the
hog. I'm being a
house.
hog. Man.
Steve, Isman's in the house. He just popped in the house. He gave you a shout out here not too long ago. Shout out Isman. Hey guys, we're gonna do a little quick Q&A too if he's got a few minutes. So start thinking up any questions you might have, and we'll look to the chat here in a minute or two, and do a little few Q&A questions and answers with Steve here before we wrap it up too.
So I went to a local card shop near me, and this is a pitching rubber
That's
that
cool.
that he had
Yep.
Gary sign when he visited.
Wow.
And so I have that's unique, and this is Gary's travel bag when he was with the Marlins, and I use that as my suitcase now.
Sweet.
So I wear this stuff. I have his stuff, but I'll wear the jackets and everything. I'm not afraid. If you're not going to
I'm
use it,
surprised you didn't wear a coat or something for the interview and like a.
it's just too hot here.
No, I got
I
you.
was
Get
thinking
a
about it,
fan
but
blowing from the corner somewhere. That would have been
yeah.
dope.
But that's really it, guys. I didn't want to. I know Jeff's been very how do I put this? Very patient with me.
Oh,
But
patience,
I've
man. I'm
hogged
working
the
on it.
airway here.
No, 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 not at all. This is your time, man. This is what this is about. Sorry to be repetitive, Steve. How about okay? We're gonna do some Q&A before we get you off here. I want these guys to be able to ask you some questions, so it's not just me interviewing you anymore. We're gonna turn it over to the audience, to the fans.
Sure.
So Tom T says, and he doesn't want to be repetitive, so I want to make sure I catch this. He says, Steve, about how many cards did Carter's likeness, like in background, appear on that were cards of other players? So like him in the card that's not got his name on it. Let's say, I'm just trying to think of a name real quick. Like Willie, maybe not Willie Randolph, but a player that would have been in his same time frame where he was in the card, but it's
Yeah.
not his card. That's what Tom's
Sure.
asking. Do you know?
Off the top of my head, I can think of a few. Terry Pendleton, 1987. His Cardinals card. There's Gary in the background. It's the same game on Gary's card number 20, where he's in the midst of throwing the ball in the
Okay.
87 set.
Yep.
That's the same game. And if you look at Gary, he's getting up as if he's about to throw. So actually, the picture of Pendleton in the card is right before the throw to second to gun down the runner.
Okay.
So that you're seeing a before and after picture in the
Right.
Pendleton to his other card. So that's one I can give you. There's the leader's card. All right, so let's eliminate all leaders cards because you can kind of see that. There's the Ryan Sandberg in 92 where Gary's the guy in the background. There's a Bobby Bonilla that they took a picture and used it later. I don't even know the name of the set. It might be a Cons. There's Tommy Lasorda at a 92 Tops is the same thing. There's Carl Rhodes at a 91 Stadium Club.
Jimmy, I love this. This is pure gold. Don't read it. Let me read it to you. Don't read it. This is pure gold. I gotta do the question before him though first. Just don't look at chat. So from our boy Crazy, our famster, our favorite redneck. What's the biggest item for the PC that got away that drives you the most insane that you didn't land? So one that you had your eye on for the PC that you did not land. That's a good question.
Okay, I'll answer this in two different ways. The first one actually was the 1959 set. I saw it for sale, and then it disappeared. And I was like, man, if I could just scrape it together on that would have been like a home run.
Yeah.
And it turned out it had like all those weird, unique Gary Carter cards. And that, again, Mickey Mantle, his favorite player.
Yeah.
I would have never... That could have been his favorite card as a kid. So I have like the most unique. I got the pinnacle of the mountain there.
Right.
It's possible, but it may not be. You know. But
right.
Anyway, that was. And when it reappeared, I was like, I'm getting it. We're doing this.
Yeah.
We're striking. So that would have been the one, Gary, that would have driven me nuts. But actually, the first card that came to my head, and usually your first impulse is the right one.
Right.
And it's actually another Gary Carter collector who I might say may have a better collection than me because he's always getting the new cards as they roll out, and his collection might have more unique cards because he doesn't necessarily count every weird one. So our collections would be comparable, but he's got a. If I'm going to point at somebody and say this guy's got a better collection, it might be him. Okay. Anyway, card that I recognize that he picked up that I saw on eBay 7-8 years ago was a Buster Posey Gary Carter Bat Knobs card. It was a booklet.
Okay.
And it was up for sale for something like $900 or $1,000.
Yeah, those are always insane. Yes.
Yeah, and I was like, "There's no way I'm able to buy that." And that's one that I think about where I'm like, "Man, I wish I would have had that card because Buster Posey's my son's favorite, and Gary Carter's my favorite." So, and I don't own a Bat Knob card of Gary Carter. But that's one that stands out, Gary.
Huh. Bat Knob Gary Carter. That would be a card. So, interesting. All right. So, Jimmy Guns, Q&A. Steve, would you grow the hair out and get a perm like Gary Carter if we raise money for charity? ?
Jimmy, I experimented with the perm last school year. So I asked my hairstylist, I said, listen, I want to try the Gary Carter perm, but I don't want to come out where it's like too tight of a perm where I'm like, what did I do?
Right.
But I would definitely be down for that because I know I have. That was the longest I ever waited to grow my hair, and obviously I cut it shorter. But if we do like a charitable fund and we can do it, and might I suggest if we did it, and again, Jimmy, it's your idea and we could run with it, but might I suggest like the Leukemia Society of America or because that was what Gary's mother died of?
I think Jimmy would be game for anything you wanted to do if you're going to be the one that's going to grow it. I mean, I could be wrong here, but me knowing Jimmy, I'm pretty sure Jimmy would be game for whatever you thought would be best or be cool. Again, I might be wrong. I can't speak for him, but I know him pretty well. I think he'd be down for whatever you felt.
And I would gladly do it. If we say, Jimmy, I mean, you tell me if today is day one and I don't cut my hair I can cut my hair but not chop it.
Yeah.
and grow it, it's going to take about a good almost year
Oh yeah.
to get to that point, because
Yeah.
you need at least 3 or 4 inches on your hair in order to get to that.
Yep.
But this time around, now that I know, like, I basically had a wave put into my hair to see how it worked. Again, I was too afraid, like, if I would, if it would look like ridiculous on my head.
Right.
So if I did it, I would go for a tighter curl this time,
Nice.
just to have like a
I love it.
tighter. I could do like a 19 circa 85, circa 83 Gary Carter perm. Yeah, Jimmy, I'm game. We just got to figure out how people would put money in for something
I
like that.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's awesome. All right. Crazy said he might have some of those. That would be nuts, Maine. Crazy says. That's awesome. And I can just see him saying it in his voice. I want to see Jimmy with a perm. Now everybody's telling everyone, Jimmy, does that mean you got to grow out your hair too? And now he disappeared. Imagine that. You gotta, oh, there he is. Let's do it. He starts. He's got the smiley laughing. So let's do it.
All right, Jimmy, I'll do the Gary Carter perm. You do the ZZ Top beard.
There you go. There you go. That would be classic. Let's see that soul glow. Crazy says.
But you know what's really funny about this, and also it's a connection too. Like, I'm always worried about if I have like these weird haircuts, like if my school's gonna be like, that's unprofessional. But I know that you know what I mean. But the bottom line is, if I explain to my school and my students I'm doing something for charity,
Yeah.
and we're poking some fun at myself,
Yep.
in the process, I think people could get behind that, and they'd be like, you know what? Yeah, I dig that. That you're doing something fun for charity, and it's not hurting anybody.
Right.
And if anything, you're raising awareness and money for something. So yeah, Jimmy, I'm down with that.
Jimmy said, the T-Mobile customer you're trying to reach is no longer available. You go, look at this RV, Brian. I want to see Guns go full on Hogan. Oh, this is classic. This is gold right here, guys. This is like the in-depth after hours right now. Oh, shout out to Coming to America, the movie, to those youngins up in here. Oh, crazy. That's awesome. This is too much. Too much fun. Do you guys got any other questions? Anything else for our man, Steve?
And this is very natural too, I might add, that I get questions thrown at me from left field all day as a teacher, so I'm down with the off the cuff.
No, that's
questions.
awesome.
I think it's fun.
It is fun. This is an awesome in-depth. Thanks, JD and Steve. Tom T's thanks. I can't even talk anymore, man. It's been such a long day. I've been doing this. Thank you, Tom, man. We appreciate it. Anybody else got any more questions? Jimmy said we'll figure something out. So yeah, like I said, he'll figure it out with you. You guys will do something. Maybe I'll get involved as well. If not, like doing something personally, trying to do something to really push it. So, if nothing else, you know what I mean, for whatever we do for the charity. So, Steve, are there any foreign companies that printed Carter's kit cards?
Yeah, there'd be a host of companies like in the particularly in French Canada, Eastern Canada, that produce cards. Like Duravage comes to mind. There's I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but there was a meats company that produced some cards. It's gonna bother me that I didn't remember it because it's always on the tip of my tongue anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of French companies that come to mind with that. And like there's Hostess of Canada and stuff like that.
Right.
True Value.
Yep.
Comes to mind. Like there's Canadian, any American version that you have, you can also find a Canadian version. And it's interesting that question. I'll spin it a little bit off center, but I got into a discussion on Facebook in one of the card groups. It was about people saying, "What about KSA Grading Company? Have you ever used KSA?"
Yeah.
And I've never used. I don't grade anything. If anything, I think, and again, this is controversial. It always gets me into arguments with guys that I call over leveraged and slabs. But I don't slab. I don't see the value in it. But please don't argue with me on that now. But again, it goes back to supply and demand. If you think it through, it's common sense on
Yeah.
why it's valueless. But anyway, um, the I got a card and it was KSA and it was a KSA PSA 10. If I could dig it out, I'll show you. But anyway, that's like bonus if I could find the card.
Right.
But suffice to say that Canadians wanted a company of their own because they didn't want to pay the exorbitant international shipping fees, and I totally get that because and the timing and everything else. Like if you've ever bought a card from Canada, you know what I'm talking about, and I know Jimmy talks about shipping cards to Canada, and I'm sure Jeff, throughout your auctions, you've done the same.
Oh yeah, it's actually not too bad. I think even Jimmy now that he's using Pirate Ship as well. A little plug there, even though this is not sponsored by Pirate Ship. If you don't use Pirate Ship, you should if you're shipping out cards. Jimmy can even tell you that it's a great thing to do because it makes even Canada shipping a lot easier than through the post office.
Oh, KSA, right? So this card is a 10, and they're supposed to be just as rigorous as PSA. And I got a 10 out of a card that's pretty uncommon. It's the 77 O-Pee-Chee. They usually go for several dollars if you could find one in good shape. You're talking like a $20 card.
Yeah.
However, the point is, there's also other companies out there that are doing services that you might not think about that are international that are just as competitive as the one that's close to home. Now, that's not me saying don't buy American. It's just a point of people in other places do it differently and they get along just fine.
Yeah.
So, if you see a KSA card for sale, I would personally feel like it's rigorous. Like they're rigorous with their grading and I would trust their score.
Gotcha.
It's just something that we don't see a lot of here because we have the big companies and it's cheaper for us to ship within our nation.
Right. SRV, my man Brian says, Steve, do you have a P.O. box we can send random carders to you?
I don't have a P.O. box, but I do have my address. My email address is listed inside of my
about on your YouTube
about page.
Yeah,
so you can always get in contact.
So guys, his link again is down below in the description. So just go to his page under the about on his channel. It's got his email. You can hit him up. He'll get you the information so you can send cards if you want to send him some cards. If we can keep pushing towards that 30,000. I found a Wayne Gretzky. Crazy said he found a Wayne Gretzky the other day that was printed in UK. The only one I've ever seen. He said the UK, a Gretzky card. Interesting. From Crazy. Was Steve a Met fan or Giants Dodger Expos fan when Gary played for them between 90 and 92?
Well, being that I didn't know any better, I was just a Mets fan because that's what everybody was around here.
Sure.
But I'm definitely a fan of the player. A player that I could liken it to is Peyton Manning. Now, Peyton Manning I consider my favorite football player all time.
Okay.
I also consider Peyton Manning to be the best quarterback of all time. Don't argue with me. I'll just have to school you on why Tom Brady is not. However, the bottom line becomes I followed Peyton Manning from Indianapolis to Denver, so I would have done the same thing had I been old enough to know that. I'm more loyal to the person than to the team.
Okay.
So that's why I'm torn right now, where I grew up as an Islander fan, but the team has been so lousy to the fan base. And then there's the Rangers, who is like, oh, it's the Rangers. Like, right. do I really want to be a fan of, like, they're like the Yankees in a way of like hockey, but they're not like successful.
Right.
And then there's the Montreal Canadiens, where it's like they actually have Gary's number in their rafter to honor him. It's like there's a connection there. Like they're like it's a hockey team supporting Gary, so it's like, do I become a Canadiens fan? But they are literally like the Yankees of hockey. Like they're the winningest team. They're the most hated team, but also the most beloved team at the same time. So it's like, I don't know where to go on this one.
Right.
And, my heart's telling me be a Canadiens fan. But then now I'm collecting Messier, who played for the Rangers. It's like, I don't know, dude.
Right. All right. I'm going to wrap it up with this last question, and then we're going to do your final words, and we'll say our goodbyes and let everybody get on with their night. It's been an awesome in-depth. What would be your holy grail? DJ asks, what would be your holy grail?
I don't know. Well, he did own a 1952 Mickey Mantle.
Oh, wow.
So if you're gonna point at one, the Gary Carter
Do you know
collection
if he
50.
put Gary on it?
So I would, I don't know the answer to it, but I would doubt it.
Right.
That probably was the type of card. Now, how do I know this? Well, I'm a historian. This is what I do for a living in research, right? So, in one of the articles in Sports Illustrated, and also in a clip, it's called "America's Golden Boy."
Okay.
It's a clip on Gary Carter that that they put out
Yeah.
from Montreal. Anyway, in the clip, it says he may not own a Hank Aaron or Mickey Mantle rookie card, but he often wonders about what the value of his rookie will be someday. So that means that Gary never owned it as a child. So I would say
Gotcha.
to you, no, it wouldn't have a Gary on it. So that's probably something he bought when he had more disposable income. So that it wouldn't have a Gary on it just from that research. But
Okay.
I guess if I'm going to look at a card, everybody says the Mickey Mantle 52 is like their dream card. It's not a dream card. My dream card is any Gary Carter I don't have.
Right.
And I love any Gary Carter. You can give me a card that's got a corner left. I want it. Like
Right.
I want to. And you put some weird thoughts in my head too, Jeff, when you said, "Yeah, why 30,000? Why not 100,000?" And I was
Right.
like, "I'm just out of my mind enough to do that." So
Well, we got to keep going, man. I mean, the goal is to see what the final what the final number is whenever you're like, hey, man, I'm the chase. I'm done. I'm done with the chase. Whenever that is, however many years down the road, hey, the chase is over. This is where I'm gonna stand. This is where I'm gonna sit. This is how many I'm gonna sit on. Hey, why don't we just get you to wherever we can get you to, man? I mean, let's just keep. You got to have goals, right? You always got to have goals in life, and you got to shoot for certain numbers so you can achieve them, and so you can continue to push farther and create a new goal. So 30,000. Okay, then we go to 100,000, and then when we get to 100,000, we figure out from there where we go, right? Right?
yeah. So in final thoughts, I know I know that you've been more than generous with your timing with me. I appreciate that.
Oh, for sure,
But
man.
but I will say this: in starting my okay, in all full disclosure, I was running into a lull on my Gary Carter collection because when you have so much, after a while, it's like there's nothing new out there that you can acquire. You can acquire more of the same, but you can't find new.
Right.
Okay, and I ran into a lull where I was like, you know, what am I doing? Like, should I be doing the 30,000? Is it crazy?
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what? Let me start something fresh to see what it's like getting back to basics. It's like when in Rocky 3 when Apollo Creed is
Oh, I
like,
love
dude,
that movie.
you need to get
I
back to
love that
basics.
movie. Yeah, that dude. I used to watch that back in the day when I wanted to train or I was getting ready for football season, two a days, whatever it would have been. Man, that was the jam on repeat. That area, that part of it. Yep.
And he's like, you need to feel what it's like to be hungry again. You need to be in a gym with the hungry guys. So, in order to feel that hunger again, I shout out to RSR. I think said he likes Rocky as his favorite movie. But in starting my fledgling Messier collection, I went heavy into him. I got a decent amount of cards of him now.
Yeah.
And Airtime just sent me one today. I posted a video. But the bottom line is, it gave me a moment to think about why I really collect Gary Carter and what these two guys have in common. And then I was like, you know what? Let's reaffirm. It's like almost like reaffirming wedding vows. I was like, I'm committed to this thing.
Yeah.
Where like it's I didn't stop loving it. It's just one of those things where it became so rote that you had to feel what it's like to not have it, to feel that fire again. So
Yeah.
now I got that fire back, and I won an auction for not a cheap but not expensive either. And I was like, I'm back.
Right.
So but I didn't let on to anybody that I was feeling like that, because again, it's almost like I got to play that part. I'm Carter's kids. Like, I'm the most insane collector there is.
Yeah.
I don't care who you say. Johnny Bench, Barry Bonds, Ken Griffey Jr. This collection right here is the most insane one you're going to see.
Yep.
And then I was like building that up in my head, and I'm like, who am I?
Right.
And I had to go back to basics and just be like, let's start something simple. And I intentionally said I'm not going to collect a billion of Mark Messier. It's going to be one of each. That's it. Move along.
Nice. Nice. So is that maybe gonna also then? Are we also gonna like bring in like maybe Peyton Manning as a one of each too? And
I can't afford him. I can't.
how
I
about
can't afford
Boomer?
him.
How about Boomer
Yeah,
Esiason?
so I've started doing some Boomer Esiason. Guys have been really cool sending me stuff on him. And I got a football over here I got from Facebook. There's just a lot of cool stuff. Tom T just sent me a slew of Boomer Esiason along with Gary
Tom
Carter.
T.
And
Yeah.
Isman sent me a stack. I mean, people have been sending me cards of these guys. I've been getting a bunch at RSR. But the bottom line is if I'm going to collect a football player, I'll go with Boomer. He's a local guy. He's a Long Island guy. So, and
Right.
then again, going back to that whole thing when I was a kid, um, for some reason, I always found it weird and different that he had not only blonde hair, but he
Yeah.
had blonde eyebrows.
Yes.
And I found his look fascinating as a kid. It's
Yeah.
almost like he was like a polar bear. He's like this humongous human being.
Maybe he should have got the nickname Polar Bear instead of Pete Alonso, huh?
Yeah, and he just reminded me of like this like he's an elephant of a human. I mean, he's a massive human being, and
Yeah.
he just like, and then he's wearing the Bengals helmet. I was like, man, that helmet's awesome. And like yeah, so I'll collect Boomer. There's no when I was a kid, I really liked Boomer. Don't get me wrong. So like I'm happy to collect Boomer. I got some cool stuff of him, so I'm gonna stick with Boomer
I don't
on
wanna.
football.
I don't wanna miss
And
this before we get off here, though. What? Jeff Nickel wants to know. Would love to know the total distinctive Gary Carters he has.
the number's got to be close to. Actually, let me see if I can get a better number for you. I should have it on my Excel spreadsheet. Just bear with me 1 second.
Sorry, man. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I didn't want to forget about that either.
No, not at all. This is fun. I wish I could do this every day, where we're just chit chat back and forth. Because again, I do this for a living, and I
Right.
find it very natural to do that stuff. Okay, all right, ready? So I'll just give you rough ballparks, ready? And then if anybody has a calculator and you want to keep up with me, so I roughly have, let's say, 96 from the 1950s through 70s. In the 1980s, I roughly have 907. From the 1990s, I roughly have 235. From 2000 to 2009, and we're just talking uniques here,
Yeah.
I have roughly 177 unique. 2010 to 19, roughly 148, and 2020 to 2029, 9.
Okay.
So if you put all those numbers together, I think you'd equate out to somewhere around 1,550.
Wow. Wow. Cool, man.
And what I count as unique might be different from what other people count
Yeah.
as unique.
Right. Right. It's all perspective. Each their own. Yep. Crazy wanted to close out the last comment I've seen in here, and it says, "Catch that damn chicken," because we were telling Rocky.
If you can catch that chicken, you can catch grease lightning.
That's right. That's right. Well, we went from little hey, Steve, me saying, "Hey, Steve, we're a little over an hour. Any last words or anything you want to message to us?" Almost moving on to 2 hours here, so. It looks like it's we're still holding 20 strong, but we can't wait until I guess everybody leaves either, right? We gotta close the show at some time. So, one last time, any final words, final thoughts, anything you want to leave everybody with?
Yeah, sure. So a while back, I started when I was first starting my stream. I did what I called Steve and the Eve, where I was going live each night.
Yeah.
It sort of started the live trend a while back, and I was really proud of that. I'm really looking forward to potentially starting something like that up again. Maybe not nightly, but Isman and I are looking at potentially teaming up as an
Cool.
East Coast thing to do. But
Cool.
look forward to something like that in the future. If you ever need a fill-in guest on your show, let me know too, Jeff. I got the gift of gab, so I'll keep it buoyant. And if you really want to get opinionated comments about better football players and baseball players, I'm your guy, and then it'll draw some ire.
Well, and there are actually some So scoves, yeah. We'll talk. We'll talk off camera. There's a lot of things in the work for sure. There's a lot of things in the works that have already been things, but we're probably going to implement and do different things. So we're trying to add some more people in whatnot, and balls wants to do something with me as well, but that might be another thing too, where we actually bring someone else in as well to kind of move it around. So there's a lot of different things that are there's all sorts of different things in the work, man. I'm constantly always thinking of different ways to do things and evolve things and change things in my own direction. I mean, everybody, people are doing, 2, 3, 4, 5. The problem I see, Steve, and this is what I always bring up, is some people feel like if there's multiple people on, it's better, like more than just two. But then the way I see it and what I see other people say is, like, when you have more than two people on, like actually on the stream, you have a lot of people talking over each other, right?
It's true.
It's that thing of, can everybody else be patient and listen and not interrupt? Or are you going to have 2 or 3 people talking over each other all the time, or constantly talking, or you get 4 people on and you got 2 guys having a conversation and then the 2 other guys having a conversation, right? And then your guests and your people that are watching are like, okay, what am I listening to? Which conversation am I going to run with? Which way are we going? So there's some things to work out with all that as well. I mean, that's why I kind of always kept this more personal on a one-to-one basis, so that, everybody can focus on whoever it is that's talking and not running any issues. But I definitely, man, I had a great time tonight. Extremely fun, man. I mean, and that's, at the end of the day, this is what this is supposed to be all about. It's supposed to be getting to know the person that's here with me and to have fun and hopefully crack a few laughs and maybe even shed some tears at times, depending upon who the guest is. But it's all about sending messages. It's all about people getting to know people within the hobby more, and hopefully they can find some new connection, like with you. Like some people in here that maybe didn't know much about you, or maybe they did, but maybe now they have a different connection with you because they know more about your connection with Gary Carter, and all that's done for you, and the messages that you basically gave us tonight with those 34 years of collecting Gary Carter. So, Steve, I do want to tell you that, man, I do appreciate you taking your time to be on In Depth tonight. Almost 2 hours deep. This is definitely the longest In Depth I have done. This is the 16th episode. So, man, I thank you and I appreciate you. I respect you. It's awesome, and it's been great to get to know you. And I look forward to getting to know you more and more, and continuing a friendship. So,
appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, my man. So,
and I'll just say one last thing, Jeff. And I know we're going to close, but what you said, maybe it was last week, where you said in one of your live walk episodes, and it resonated with me because I try to do this and I try to live this way. But you said, "Yeah, I'm soft. Yeah, I'm willing to show that I love, and I'm willing to show I'm sorry." And
emotion and sensitive.
Yeah,
yep.
But the bottom line is, be willing to admit that you're wrong. Be willing to admit that something didn't come out the way that you wanted it, or the way But the bottom line is, you're human, and
right.
You're showing your humanity. You're not being soft, or you're not being weak or anything. You're showing that you're a human being and that you're approachable. So I really liked your message. I really liked your message on that. That be yourself, and just be yourself. Be comfortable, and you just learn from your mistakes, and you own them.
Right.
You own them when they happen, and you try to work it better for next time, and you try to make amends for what was right and what was wrong. But I wanted to say that I liked your message on that very much so, and I appreciate you having me on here, and everybody that stopped in to say hello. You really start to see how appreciated you are. Your show is appreciated as well, the esteem that you hold, and I know that everybody holds you in the highest esteem, Jeff. So I appreciate you doing this for me. You did me a favor by having me on, and again, I have a smaller channel than most guys you have on here, and so you've given me a platform, but at the same time, I'm very humbled that you gave me a lot of time, and Thank you.
And to me, it's not about, to me, it's never about numbers with guests or people. It's about the person. It's about who they are. And it's about, you know, basically giving this platform to anybody and everyone. And again, I'm gonna say this one more time before we close it out. I'm gonna say that I have mentioned this numerous times, that you can ask me, anybody can ask me, if you want to be on this, if you want to be a part of In Depth, right? Like, you can simply ask me. I'm more than likely going to say, yes, let's do it. When can we schedule it? I might be a month out or a month and a half out, but we'll make it happen. Just let me know, because it's hard for me to know who wants to do it, because not everybody likes to be interviewed. Not everybody likes to be in front of a camera. Not everybody's a fan of that, so it is what it is. And again, Steve, I appreciate your kind words. It honestly, dude, that means a lot to me. And I guess my last final message to say before we say goodbye is, we can all be better, we can all get better, and we can all live better. So until next time, friends, to each and every one of you, we love you. We'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.